What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the official Third Age Reforged YouTube channel. My name is Jordan, also known as Jmonster. Thank you for joining me for another replay battle. Today I have something truly spectacular to show you. I realize that the word epic gets thrown around a lot on the internet, especially in Total War videos, but this is truly something that I think is worthy of that moniker. So I'm going to go ahead and just say it. This is an epic 4 versus 2 siege battle. We have 4 attacking Mordor forces, or at least forces aligned with Mordor. One of them is a Haradrim band that has joined forces with the Maggot folk of Mordor. Alongside a garrison, 2 Umbar armies are inside this beautiful city here, which you can see just behind you. We'll take a look at the entirety of it as we get a little bit farther into the video. But it is a custom scenario done by Sin of the Darkcloud, one of the developers for Third Age Reforged, and yeah. When he does something, it's go big or go home. So there's going to be about 23,000 men and orcs that participate in this battle on a brand new custom map, which I guarantee you've never seen before. But as well as the Umbar and the Mordor forces, there are 2 attacking Dol Amroth forces here to make sure, I assume, that that Umbar suffers. Dol Amroth would definitely be one of the places at the top of the Umbar Corsairs' places to raid when they launch their attacks into southern Gondor. But in any case, let's take a look at the army compositions, then we can get into the battle itself. So the first army we're looking at today is one of the Dol Amroth attacking forces, being commanded by Sin of the Darkcloud himself. He's got a massive cavalry force here. Look at this. This is like Pelennor Fields kind of come again. We've got a unit of White Knights out here, which has his general in it. That's going to be leading the charge. 4 units of Knights of the Silver Swan, backed up by 4 units of Tirith Knights. The Tirith Knights being a really strong Lancer unit. You always want to keep these guys on the move, however, because their melee damage, once they stop moving, it's pitifully low. They do have AP to kind of make up for it, so they are at least a little bit of a threat in melee. And yeah, it also just, makes them completely not useless in melee. But their charge bonus is spectacular. I think it's like 20 or so. And that's AP damage on top of their regular attack value. So if you can get these guys going, they can skewer medium infantry, heavy infantry, doesn't matter what it is. These guys will pass through it like wind in a forest or a meadow or something, if you want to use a cheesy metaphor. But in the back here, we've got the infantry force sent by sent by Dol Amroth, commanded by Sin of the Darkcloud. He's got a very strong force of elites. He's got some Talon Knights here on the front lines. I think he's got about 3 or so units of them. Maybe it's just 2, and he's got 1 unit of Haven Guard. He's got a second line made up of Adelon Halberdiers, who are really strong right now. From what I understand from talking to the developers, they are going to get a bit of a nerf in 0.91, but currently in 0.92 rather. But currently in 0.91, these guys are tops. They are by far the best halberd unit in the game. And behind them we have the classy Dol Amroth Men-at-Arms, a very reliable heavy infantry unit. Also going to see a little bit of changes in the upcoming patch, as currently they are a little bit more cost-effective, I think, than the developers want them to be. Also got a unit of Nirmadel Rangers, one of the few AP missile units left in the game. I don't know if that is going to carry over into 0.92, but currently for 0.91, these guys are excellent at what they do. They've got a lot of ammunition. They can hide anywhere. They make fantastic ambush archers, and of course you can use them to snipe high priority units like generals, for example, or heavy cavalry. And behind them we got a couple units of Tirith marksmen, definitely the mainline marksman unit for the Dol Amroth faction. These guys have a lot of armor, as the Dol Amroth units tend to have, making them very, very viable in an extended skirmish fight. Of course, AP missiles and crossbows and the like would shred these guys. They will absolutely destroy them, but in a bow fight against most of the skirmish units in the game, the Tirith marksmen are very, very hardy. So moving over here to the second Dol Amroth attacking force, this one I think is largely meant to be a force that was dropped off by sea. So not a lot of heavy infantry. I've got a unit of Nirmadel Rangers right here. He's also got a couple units of Tirith Marksmen, I believe, but most of his force actually is made up of the Belfalos Marines. These guys are really strong javelins who are also AP and melee with their axes once they've thrown their javelin clutch. So they make a really nice, versatile medium infantry unit. They can hold the line fairly well against other heavy infantry due to their AP abilities. Also got a couple units of Tirith Marksmen here, like I believe I just mentioned, and a couple units of Tirith Wardens. Some really nice heavy spearmen, 2 HP. They've got a lot of longevity, but they don't have a ton of killing power behind them. So it's really going to be down to using the Tirith Wardens and these Belfalos Marines and that sort of thing in tandem together with the very small elite corps that Hunglo has here. He's got a couple units of Talon Knights. You can see the 2 of them right there, and a unit of Haven Guard as well. But in addition to that, The boats also dropped off a couple pieces of trebuchet, which is going to be extremely useful, especially in a siege battle like this. If we go and take a quick look at Mirlond right now, you can see that there are multiple levels to the citadel. There's these lower areas here, bridges and that sort of thing, but there's also like 3 or 4 levels of elevation. So there's a lot of places where those trebuchets are going to find a lot of use. But in any case, let's move on now to the Mordor and the Harad forces, and then we can take a look at Umbar. Over here we have one of the Mordor forces being commanded by Apollo 11. He's got a ton of Orc Maulers. Actually, he's got mostly like a medium to kind of lower tier force. So he's got Marauders, he's got Raiders, he's got some more Maulers, and some Uruks and things like that. Quite a lot of Uruks, but mostly it's a lot of rank and file. He's got some Uruk archers there and things like that. 1 unit of catapult. And he's actually the closest to Sin of the Dark Clouds cavalry. Actually, if you just look, you can see them right around the bend there. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of action early on in the game. He's also got some bruisers here, a couple units of mountain trolls. Not the greatest trolls anymore. I actually kind of like what the developers have done with them. They've increased their numbers quite precipitously, probably by about 100% comparative to other more elite units like the Olokai, who I believe still have 12. But these guys are a great budget pick, and just their sheer numbers kind of makes up for the lack of killing power that they have relative to other more elite trolls. But he's also got a unit of Uruk bodyguard, which is of course where his general is going to be hanging out. But let's take a look at the next Mordor force, this one being commanded by Cannon Fodder, one of the mods on the official channel. If you guys want to participate in battles like these, I definitely recommend that you take a look at the Discord, which of course will be naturally linked in the description for you. But in any case, Cannon Fodder's got a ton of the new, quote-unquote new, the model has existed in DAC for a while, but the unit itself is new to Reforged. They've got basically upgraded stats, these Mordor Moranon, which is really hard to say, the alliteration trips me up every time. But the Mordor Moranon units generally are a step above the regular kind of Uruk counterparts. So these guys are stronger versions of the Uruk halberds that cost, I think, about 100 more florins to bring. So he's got a lot of halberds here. You can see 4 or 5 units of them composing his main line. He's also got some Moranon heavy maulers. I love these guys. They are, in my opinion, in terms of the defense and things like that they can bring to bear, and the extra little bit of armor that they have, they're probably some of the best shock troops, in my opinion, in the game. They've got a lot of AP damage, they've got great charge bonuses, and look at this, look at the numbers on these guys. That is the max numbers that you can find in Medieval 2, so they've got the numbers to really do a lot of damage to more important units. I recommend that you use them as, after you get a charge in there, you want to follow that up with some mainline infantry and try and keep these guys in a support role after they get stuck in, because they're not strong in melee by any means. They are shock troops, and they are orc shock troops at that. So they will die like crazy, but if you want to keep them around and get the most out of them, I recommend that you use them once they've got that charge bonus going for them in a support capacity. Or back here, we've got some Mordor Moranon Uruks, who I love the model for these guys. Actually, I believe it was Jox25, who's one of the members of the Rise of Mordor team, who is responsible for the texture and the model and things like that. So yeah, you've seen the quality coming out of that mod, I'm sure, so you know that these are particularly awesome. They look a lot like the orcs from the Battle of Pelennor Fields. But in any case, Cannon Fodder's also got a unit of Olokai. Who doesn't love the Olokai? A lot of, I believe, armor on these guys, but a little bit less melee defense than the Trolls of the White Hand. So I tend to prefer the Trolls of the White Hand for that reason, because I find that melee defense for the role that these guys serve in an army is a little bit better and makes them a little bit less vulnerable to AP. But the Olokai are by no means weak at all. They're still very strong. You just need to be careful about javelins and, of course, missiles and cavalry. Cavalry will run those guys down like nobody's business. Over here we got some Mordor Moranon bows. So much more elite force here being brought by Cannon Fodder. He's also got some Sauron's Will, a classic unit that's been around in DAC for quite some time. They are multiple HP shock troops. You'll only be able to afford one of them, but they make really, really good. Again, in the same kind of vein as the Mordor, or the Moranon, whatever they're called, Moranon Heavy Maulers, they make good support troops after you get that charge bonus going. In the back, you can see a couple units of mounted Numenorian Shield Guard, more than I think we're used to seeing. Usually you can only get about one of these guys before you get a prohibitive price increase, but this is a scenario, so anything is possible. These guys, I do not believe, have their multiple HP anymore. They did in previous iterations of Reforged, but now they've got really nice numbers for a cavalry unit, very similar to Wargs, and they've got AP and their anti-cavalry. So these guys, very, very useful, very fitting, I think, in terms of power level for a Black Numenorian unit. Speaking of Black Numenorians, if you guys have played the Shadow of War series or the Shadow of Mordor, etc., actually I don't think Shadow of War is out yet, so if you play Shadow of Mordor, you're going to recognize these guys. These are Caragors being ridden by some really kick-ass modified Black Numenorians, which I love. This is just one of the coolest looking units in the game. And in terms of heavy shock cavalry, these guys, they do work. They will run things over. And I believe this is actually where the general is hanging out for cannon fodder, but I could be wrong about that. But it looks like a general unit right there. The Witch King himself leading this unit of Black Numenorians. Over here we've got another army being commanded by Carandol, one of the content creators for the mod on the Third Age Reforged Discord. He's got some Orc Maulers. Again, another more kind of fodder army, so got some Maulers on the front line there. He's also got some Uruk Halberds in behind, a slightly weaker version of the Mordor Moranon Halberds, but nonetheless they are AP and very resistant to cavalry charges, especially from the front. Got some Troll Catapult here. Everybody loves artillery, and I think most of the players have at least one piece, one or two pieces at most. And yeah, the troll catapult, not easy to kill. Mordor, or Carandol rather, also has a unit of Olokai, a unit of mountain trolls to back that up. So a fairly nicely balanced force. These guys would be great, I think, at supporting those Uruk Halberds once they get stuck in. And another unit of the Melkor's Chosen. Can't stress it enough. I love these guys. I love the new model. It looks like we've actually got a different general's model there too. So a lot of attention to detail being paid here on the part of Sin of the Dark Clouds. This is the Kamul bodyguard unit, whereas the other one is for the Witch King. So I think that's actually really cool. So let's move on now to the fourth and final Mordor army being commanded by WK. Here we have the Muhad Beastmaster, or the Kingdom of Harad, but WK has some Muhad Beastmasters who are an interesting pick. For this kind of army, especially in a siege setting. These guys can do a lot of work out in the field, so I got a feeling they will be particularly useful for combating Dol Amroth's very, very strong heavy cavalry contingent. These guys are Javcav, and as such are AP great at dealing with charges. You can skirt these guys away. They're a lot faster than most of the heavy cavalry in the game, and as they're running away, they'll just toss their javelins backwards and inflict a lot of damage to heavy infantry that get in the way. So a worthy and very heavy contingent of those Muhad Beastmasters in this Harad army. Over here we have a unit of Serpent Bodyguard. Honestly, probably my favorite cavalry unit in the game, because it suits my playstyle the best. They are, it says light cavalry, but for the most part they are medium cavalry, probably bordering on the side of heavy. They are very fast, and their charge bonus is solid. So getting these guys moving and getting that charge bonus activated for you at a moment's notice is very, very simple. And for that reason, I really rely on these guys as kind of crisis troops. Anti-cavalry troops as well. Being a bodyguard, they are, I believe, anti-cavalry and AP in melee, not only on the charge like most cavalry units tend to be. So all around, Serpent Bodyguard, easily one of the best cavalry units in the game, in my opinion. Over here we have a unit of Mumakil, because who doesn't love the Mumakil? It's always a pleasure when I see these guys in battles because, well, most of the time anyway, because when you use them well, the Mumakil are a force to be reckoned with. They're a massive target, obviously, so they're going to be just arrow fodder for any archer within like a 30-mile radius, and javelins will wipe these guys out in a mere matter of seconds. So in terms of skill versus reward when it comes to using this unit, there is definitely a big payoff, and for that reason I really enjoy them. Moving on to the meat and potatoes of the Haradrim army, we've got a lot of trollmen. This is going to be essential for augmenting the mostly cannon fodder armies of the Mordor factions. These trollmen of Harad are indispensable. A lot of people, I have heard in the past that Harad is not a favorite, and I think that's because they kind of do a lot of things reasonably well, but they're not exactly amazing in any particular area. So they're very much a jack-of-all-trades faction, and I think that's really represented by the Trollmen of Harad. They lack armor, definitely, but they've got good melee defense, they've got AP, high attack values, and a lot of numbers as well. So they're vulnerable to missiles and into charges and things like that, as most infantry tend to be. But once you get them into melee, these guys can crunch other elites that cost more than they do. And in a scenario, this isn't usually a big deal, but they only cost about 1050 to bring, and you can get 2 of them for your armies when you're playing just your normal multiplayer battles. So the Trollmen of Harad, definitely one of the strongest elite picks in the game, in my opinion. Out in front of them, we got some Muhad tribesmen. Everybody loves the Muhads. These are really cost-effective javelin units. They used to have 2 HP. They no longer do. I don't believe they're AP in melee, but they may be kind of like the shadowy eastern counterpart to the Belfalos Marines, if that's indeed how they work. But they've got good numbers, and they don't cost a lot to bring. So if you lose one, or gets trapped in melee or something like that, then it's not a huge loss for you. Out in front of them, we got some Muhad Beast Tamers. In the 0.9, just generally the 0.9 patch cycle, there has been a lot of use of the Muhad model. So we've seen the Beast Tamers in the back there, seen the Muhad Tribesmen, and there is yet more to come. So the Muhad Beast Tamers are a pike unit, and as such, very, very strong from the front. I think they've got about 14 pike damage, which is exceptionally high. I think that's rivaling some of the Elven pikes, like the Avari Elder pikes and things like that. But they don't have a lot of armor, so especially these guys are vulnerable to missiles. Pikemen in general are vulnerable to missiles, but the Muhad Beast Tamers are the epitome of that philosophy. Out in front of them, we got some Muhad Berserkers, some really strong AP shock troops. They're not really all that expensive. There's a lot of numbers. I think they have like 20 AP damage and a large charge bonus on top of that. Maybe it's like 18 AP damage and like 20 charge bonus. Either way, if you get these guys running headlong into infantry, they will cut them down really quickly. But they don't have a lot of melee defense, and of course they lack armor, as Harad's units tend to, so they will fall apart in the face of a sustained missile bombardment. But that just about does it for the attacking forces. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the defenders. The southern spur of the city of Mirlond is going to be defended by Happy Meal, one of the mods on the official 3rd Age Reforged Discord server. He's got, actually the two Umber forces are fairly similar to one another. He's got some crossbow corsairs, which, look at these guys, look at these weapons. They shoot friggin' harpoons, it's ridiculous. And because of this kind of unique weapon that they've got here, they actually have some of the highest crossbow damage in the game. I think they've got like 20 AP missile damage, which is only matched, I think, by the Elder Royal Council for the Woodland Realm, or like Lothlorien or something like that. So definitely a lot of damage that can be done by these guys, but they are very, 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 and I stress this, extremely vulnerable to missile fire. They have next to no armor, terrible melee defense, so keep these guys out of melee if at all possible. But yeah, that is their biggest weakness, is they are very easily shot down by enemy skirmishers. He's also got some Beligear Halberds. Halberd units really made a resurgence in 0.9, and I'm honestly very pleased by this because they have such a strong presence as defensive troops. So in this kind of battle, Umbar is really going to have to defend their halberd lines, because the halberd lines can hold out for a really, really long time. And once they're in like defensive formation and stuff like that, and with a lot of mass behind them, these guys can inflict a ton of damage disproportionate to the amount of money that it costs to bring them or to lose them. So yeah, a lot of halberds here. I think about 3 or 4 units of them. He's also got some Beligear footmen, another really nice holding unit. These guys actually have their armor upgrades, so they don't always look like this, but they look really, really cool in that chainmail with those very distinctive Eastern helmets with those masks. I'm not too sure what you would call them, but I really like the look of these guys. Happy Meals, yes, more Beligear Halberds over here. See another couple units there forming the defensive front line. He's also got some Nara Royal Archers, one of the best archer units that are available to Umbar. In fact, I think they are probably the best, except I don't believe they have AP at ranged, whereas units like Casimir's Rangers tend to. But in any case, the Nara Royal Archers, generally a bodyguard unit, but they are quite numerous as such. 72 men in that unit, they can do a lot of damage, and of course they're very accurate, as you would expect from an elite archer unit. Back here we've got the bodyguard unit for Happy Meal. This is the Nara Royal Guard. Let me see if I can get in there and get a really nice shot of these guys, because they look amazing. Definitely very unique. The Umbar units tend to have this kind of like black plate armor over black chainmail with like red kind of trimmings, like those feathers you can see on the top of their head. I love it. It is unique, and they're the only ones I think that really do it the way that Umbar does. So really cool to see these guys. I wish they had some gloves, though. It's a little bit strange to see them so heavily armored without gloves. But in any case, the Nara Royal Guards, multiple HP, really strong spearmen. I think they're also AP as well, given they are tended to be a general's bodyguard unit. So do not underestimate them, because they will kick your can. They may be spearmen, but damn, can they do a lot of damage. Over here we have some of the elite corps from Happy Meals. Got a couple units of Casimir's Chosen, who got a big buff in 0.9. I think they have like 3 HP now. So these guys can hold the line for pretty much ever. And indeed, they are going to be a very important part of the defense, especially in there amongst the halberd lines. Up here we got a couple units of Harbingers of Castamere, who have an absurd amount of damage and a lot of armor as well. They are vulnerable to missiles, as units without shields tend to be, as they rely largely on their full armor value or their melee defense once they get into combat. So it's a little bit easier to kill these guys with javelins and things like that. But they've got 3 HP, so it's not going to be easy. You're going to use a lot of ammunition trying to weaken a unit of Harbingers of Castamere. They are great shock troops and great support troops as well. So for this kind of fight, fight, they're going to be, I think, indispensable for the Umbar faction. Over here we got a unit of catapults, because of course everybody needs a catapult. The Umbar faction currently does not have their own unique catapult look, but I'm sure they'll get Corsairs or something like that. Something that's a little bit more unique for the faction at some point in the future. But let's see here. I think that's most of their army. It's a lot of halberds and a lot of missile units and things like that. So let's take a look at the western defense, which is being commanded by Son of Imladris. He's got a unit of Abrazani Narduzagar. I think he's actually got a couple units of these guys, and they are multiple HP shock troops. They're a lot better than they used to be. These guys used to be not worth the money, and you'd never see them, which is a shame because they have this beautiful model here. That's and they look really intimidating with those gorgeous masks and things like that. But you're going to see them a lot more in the 0.9 patch cycle. These guys are a lot stronger than what they used to be. Son of Imladris also has some Belgier halberds, of course, in a defensive position here, right in this little gap, which is a great place rather for them to be. Up here on the upper levels, you can see some Naranar Royal Archers of his own, which I think is where his general is. I could be wrong about that. I think they're actually in a unit of warlords. But in any case, we've got a unit of Naranar Royal Guard, or Royal, yeah, these are the Royal Guard. This is a Royal Guard Spearmen. Again, really strong General's Bodyguard unit, but actually not where the General is. Some more Castamir's Chosen, and in the very, very back here, he's got, more Castamir's Chosen. Sorry, their forces are really spread out. It's hard to figure out where everybody is at all times. I got some more Belgier halberds up here to form a secondary defensive line. And then we have the Warlords of Umbar with their custom unit, I might add, for the general, which I think looks really cool. I think it's supposed to be, I don't know, you can just really insert any kind of generic Umbar warlord there. I like to think that it's Castamir himself, for whom so many of the Umbar units are named, so we're just going to kind of jump back in time a little bit to the reign of Castamir, which I believe was during the Second Age. I could be wrong about that, though. But in any case, they have their own unique General's Bodyguard unit, which looks really cool. The Warlords of Umbar, very strong cavalry unit. Not the best. Umbar is definitely not known for his cavalry. Its infantry are where its strength lies, but these Warlords of Umbar make a decent answer to heavy cavalry from other factions. But I recommend that you support them with something. Don't send them in all by themselves, because they will be outclassed just due to how few of them there are in a unit. Up here we got another catapult piece, because of course the defenders are going to need to make very, very liberal use of these in order to come out of this. He's also got some more Harbingers of Castamir. He doesn't love these guys. They're friggin' ninjas. Look at this. They're ninjas with like troll helmets on. I freaking love it. And plate mail and things like that. But that just about does it for his army. I think he's also got some skirmishes around here. But I'll put a picture of the army description in the introduction anyway, so you'll be able to pick up with anything that I may have left out. But in any case, let's actually jump into the replay itself. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. So as the battle begins, Cid of the Dark Cloud is going to make a very interesting tactical decision here. He's going to split his forces. Normally, this is not the best idea, but given that he has so much cavalry, and this can really be its own self-contained kind of army away from the rest of his elite and infantry corps, then maybe it's not the worst idea. So he's actually going to take off with the rest of his Dol Amroth infantry, and he's going to move over here and try and rejoin his ally Hung Lo. But it's what the cavalry is doing that I'm sure we are all terribly interested in. So the frame rate is going to drop in this a little bit. I am going to warn you for it right now, because it is a massive battle, and of course I am playing with reshade settings, so we've got a lot of interesting extra kind of things tacked on. So it's going to be a little bit slow for a while, but it's going to be, I think it'll still be a battle that's not really, it won't be less of a battle for that reason. So we're going to fast forward just a little bit here. And in response to this very aggressive movement from Son of the Dark Cloud, Apollo is going to have no choice but to turn his rear guard around and try and face him. And with all that heavy cavalry bearing down on him, I don't know how well the Mordor player is going to fare, given the forces that he has available to him. So he's really going to have to rely on his ally, and you can already see them beginning to mobilize, and the cannon fodder is actually bringing over his Numenorians. So they're going to be an important part of this defense. So Sin of the Dark Cloud only has a little bit of time to accomplish what he wants to get done. And I think that's to inflict the maximum amount of damage possible on Mordor before his cavalry units kind of run out of steam. So you can see him forming up very hastily here, getting ready with his Tirith Knights on the front lines. Really good place for them to be. There's no reason to send in the Knights of the Silver Swan yet. Let these guys go forward, let them punch holes, see how far they get, and then flood the rest of your elite cavalry into those gaps. So he's moving forward now. You can see artillery in the back. Already, Umbar is in a lot of trouble, beginning to come under fire from Mordor. But look at this. Look at this beautiful charge. Oh yeah, we're going to get right in there. We're going to see the opposite angle that we saw in the trailer. And there they go, the Tirithera Knights being countercharged by the mass ranks of Orcish infantry. This is a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. The Orcs are really outclassed in this kind of situation. The Dol Amroth cavalry has the advantage in terms of quality, and with that charge going off, look at the damage they have done to these guys. Just look at this. Oh, those Orcs got flattened, completely and utterly destroyed. So Sin of the Dark Cloud is just running amok now, and Mordor, Apollo, and his allies trying to stop this flood of cavalry through their front lines. You can see some of those mountain trolls now getting into the back of these Tirithera Knights, maybe a little bit overextended. There's no support for them right now, which I think is a bit of a mistake on the part of Sin of the Dark Cloud. The rest of them have fallen back, so maybe that he's throwing this unit under the bus kind of as a rear guard, so that he can fall back and reform with the rest of his knights. And actually, speaking of, he's moving forward now with his 4 units of Knights of the Silver Swan. Another big charge coming in from Dol Amroth. Oh, taking a little bit of artillery on the way in, but look at this. The White Knights, first ones in there against those Orc Maulers. The rest of them charging into the front. A countercharge here from the Black Numenorians, trying to shut these guys down, but it looks like the Knights of the Silver Swan are going to sweep right through them. That is not going to be a fight those Numenorians win. Over here on the flanks, you can see that those reformed Tirithera Knights are trying to get in past the rest of the lines. Actually, they managed to get in there amongst the archers. It is very Pelennor Fields-esque, in my opinion. Trying to throw everything that they can in front of their archers to try and slow down that cavalry, but there is no brakes on this pain train. Look at this, a big charge into the Mordor infantry, into the Black Numenorians. These poor Black Numenorians are going to suffer very, very heavily at the hands of these elite Dol Amroth cavalry. This is really where a lot of the action is right now. Dol Amroth cycling in and out, bursting holes in the Mordor line. Mordor desperately trying to keep things together, and it looks like things have stabilized a little bit with the addition of those cavalry. And, of course, these trolls over here. You can see a very large concentration of trolls. But look at this. Looks like Sin of the Dark Cloud is trying to get out of there, trying to get that charge bonus going, because if he can do that, he is going to skewer these trolls. But it looks like Apollo and actually some of the probably cannon fodder's Olokai are in there as well. Yes, indeed they are. Trying to use their mobility to chase down these Knights of the Silver Swan and the rest of the cavalry, prevent them from getting those cycle charges that they so desperately need. But there's just so many of them, you can't stop them all. Big charge coming in from the Knights of the Silver Swan into the mountain trolls, into the Olokai, and you can see a lot of them are going to drop very, very quickly. This has been a bad thing for Mordor so far, but luckily Harad has brought out the big guns. Look at this. Moving in with the Mumakil. This is everything that they're going to need to shut these guys down. Actually, Mordor has now turned their artillery onto these cycle charging units. You can see these Knights of the Silver Swan in the back who are trying to wheel around, trying to get that charge bonus going with enough momentum, are actually being targeted. Oh no, that's my bad. These are the White Knights. This is the general, Prince Imrahil himself, leading this contingent of elite warriors into battle, now being targeted very, very heavily. You can see a ton of arrows coming in from the Mumakil, from the archers in the back, and from that catapult as well. Looks like Mordor has finally managed to stabilize the situation, and we can see that the brave Knights of Dol Amroth are starting to run out of steam. There's not very many of them left at this point. Serpent Guard now pouring into the fight. Really going to do a number on these Knights of the Silver Swan, who are now surrounded. Another big charge coming in. Let's get right in there and enjoy this. Enjoy the nitty-gritty. Going into these Mordor halberds as they try to sneak up against that beleaguered unit surrounded by the Serpent Guard over there. Javelins now coming in. It looks like the Muhad Beastmasters have joined the fray, and that's going to be all she rolled for the Dol Amroth cavalry. Look at this. Look at the destruction that they are causing to these guys. There's so many dead knights left on the field, but undeterred, the rest of these brave cavalrymen are going to they're going to fight on to the bitter end, give their lives in the service of the Principality of Dol Amroth. Yeah, not much left of the Tirithera Knights now being swept away in a counter-charge by the mounted Numenorians. Oh man, that Haradrim Mumakil unit really just cleaning up. Look at this. Look at what they have done. Over here we've got a very outnumbered unit of Knights of the Silver Swan trying to get one last charge, trying to take down as many of those trolls as possible, but they are actually going to be counter-charged. Looks like one or two of the trolls is going to fall there, but these Knights of the Silver Swan really in a bad spot. Trolls in front of them, Mumakil behind. Mordor now consolidating their position alongside the Haradrim allies. Look at this, the Haradrim giving chase to what remains of these heavy cavalry. Can really see what I mean with that Serpent Bodyguard. They're so swift, and this is them not even at fresh. They're just very fast. And it looks like Sin of the Dark Cloud used the rest of his cavalry to buy some time for his general and those White Knights, who are still looking really healthy. They've only lost about 3 in that unit, so very much combat effective at this point. So let's go ahead. Let's slow things down a little bit because you know that there's been some action going on over here in the breaches. Mordor has actually moved in a big way to engage the front lines of Umbar. You can see those Beligear halberds here being backed up with some other holding units. This little choke point here is going to hold for quite some time. Happy Meal's got the numbers, and he's got the AP and the damage to hold out against these orcs for a very long time. And so far, it's just the Maulers and a few of the Uruks that have joined the fray. So they're very much trying to wear down the Umbar warriors with sheer weight of numbers. But Umbar's not going to give any ground. But over here, Happy Meal is also being pressed hard. And you can see that over on this end, looks like the Mordor force is having a little bit more success. There are some Casimirs chosen in here supporting those Beligear halberds, which is a great plan on the part of Happy Meal. Definitely using those 2 units' strengths in tandem with one another to great effect. You can see these Orc Maulers here, and very much this Mordor first wave has been broken against the shields and halberds of the Umbar warriors. But over here we can see that because their position not very consolidated, there's actually a bit of a problem here with a pocket of Umbar resistance being surrounded and pinned down by the Mordor force. We got some Olokai here in the front, pretty much unsupported. Not the best move here on the part of Carindol, in my opinion. The Olokai need to be supporting something in order to be effective. And you can see the Beligear footmen here, and I think there's some halberds in there as well, are doing a great job at pushing these guys back. There's only a few skirmish units up here that are really, I think, posing a problem to the Mordor infantry as they move in. You can see another wave coming in right now, but they've got some archers up here, and they've got actually some Corsair javelins. The Blackguard, I don't think we saw these guys in the introduction. Oh no, they just disappeared. They don't want to be shown yet. But the Blackguard are very capable heavy infantry, 2 HP javelins with a lot of damage, and pretty damn good numbers as well. They are quite vulnerable to missiles because they don't have any shield value or things like that, and they've got medium armor at best. But these guys definitely a serious elite pick, and you can see them. Looks like they're actually out of ammunition. Maybe they've been tossing javelins down here into these Mordor troops as they move in and trying to assault the Umbar forces. Not too sure what's happening. It looks like Happy Meal may be effecting some kind of retreat here, using his halberds and his footmen to hold back the Mordor tide, and as he tries to fall back some of his more important skirmish units. And you can see up here that the opportunity is definitely ripe for him to be able to do that, which I think this is a great tactical treat here on the part of Happy Meal. Mordor player notices it. Carindol is going to try and get in there with his Olokai, but there's just not enough of them, and there's actually a lot of support up there on the ridgeline. You can see some Casimir's Rangers and a lot of other things as well, like actually I think there's some Blackguard up there hidden in amongst the elite archer company. So those Olokai are going to get scythed down pretty quickly. Yeah, you can see them both dying very, very quick, and the rest of those Umbar forces are going to be able to fall back. So Happy Meal has managed to kind of salvage a significant portion of his army. Those Beligear archers and those Corsair Blackguards especially are going to come in very much handy later on in the battle. Now the tide is kind of turned against Mordor a little bit. They had an opportunity here to isolate a significant portion of the Umbar defense forces, but now they're finding themselves looking like they are fish in a barrel. And you can see, it looks like Carindol is actually falling back with some of his troops, trying to get them out of there, because that catapult, look at this, that catapult is in such a good spot, landing some really great hits, and those archer companies up there just raining down death upon the Mordor forces. Although the archers up there are Casimir's Rangers, who are quite important, very elite archers, so maybe this isn't the best use of their ammunition, but there's just so many foes, and they've only got so many archers, so really what else are they going to use it on at this point? Maybe this Mordor catapult unit here, armed with trolls, as they move up, and looks like actually some black Numenorians as well, some more Temple Inquisitors, so a few more things that we missed in the introduction. I would definitely save those Casimir's Rangers and that catapult ammunition for these elite units. The catapults have pretty significant range, and I bet you that they're already within range of these Temple Inquisitors. So maybe that's a better priority target for the Umbar defense forces. But speaking of the Umbar defense, it is about to run into a real big problem. Look at this, those Mumakil bearing down on the front line. Looks like we got some crossbow Corsairs here from Happy Meal in amongst the melee. Not a good idea, as I mentioned earlier. Look at this, they're actually fighting on the front lines. That, I think, is probably a bit of a misstep, a bit of a miss-micro on the part of Happy Meal. They may be out of ammunition, maybe that's why. And it looks like they got cut up pretty badly, so they might be out of ammunition. And now they're just kind of augmenting the defense with their numbers. But once those Mumakil get going, and indeed they need to, because they're kind of just sitting here within range of some archer units. You can see those Bellier archers back there putting down some serious fire into these Uruk archers. Yeah, I definitely want to get these guys going. But we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that very, very shortly, because it looks to me like Dol Amroth is getting ready to make their move. So all the forces of Sin of the Dark Cloud and Hung Lo have managed to merge themselves together, and Hung Lo is actually going to charge right in there. I've seen and played games with Hung Lo before. He definitely likes to run his troops, I think, a little bit too much. So these Belfalas Marines now running up this hill, trying to get quickly into position so they can begin their assault on the city. So Umbar doing reasonably well at the defense on the southern portion, but now it is going to come down to the defense force of Son of Imladris, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot hanging out here right now. Maybe he has fallen back a little bit farther up this hill, trying to make his enemies come to him, and leveraging this wide open space, which is honestly not a bad idea at all, given how little cover there's going to be for those only at best medium armored Dol Amroth troops in the first wave. This is not a bad place to fall back your forces to. And indeed, it looks like he's pulled back almost entirely from the area, but there is a problem with that. He is leaving his allies' rear and flank undefended right now. If Dol Amroth wants to be able to run right through here and join the assault that Mordor is beginning on the Umbar lines, he's going to be able to go right into the back of all of Happy Meal's defensive lines. So it remains to be seen if Dol Amroth is actually going to take advantage of that fact. Let's see what this Mumakil are up to. I really want to see these guys get into the fray. Mumakil have now been pulled back out of the city. Probably a smart idea. Not cannon fodder. I believe this is actually WK trying to keep that Mumakil alive into the late game. Like I said, if you use them well, the Mumakil can do a lot of damage. What is this? They're actually getting pushed along by this troll catapult team. That's really funny. Now let's take a quick look here at how Umbar is managing to fare. Not so well. Umbar has surrounded this defensive line as Belligear footmen, and what remains of the halberds, I believe, are in here as well, being beaten down. Looks like they're now broken, fighting to the death. There's really nowhere for them to go. Those guys are going to be completely slaughtered. And Mordor has now moved in to the front line, I suppose, of Happy Meal. You can see some Corsair Blackguards probably have already thrown their javelins probably into these this large body of troops, trying to deal as much damage to the fodder of Mordor as possible, because they don't have a ton of elites. Yeah, mostly they rely on this fodder, so they're just trying to thin the herd, as it were. It looks like they're doing pretty well. Let's get right in there. Right in amongst the melee. The Casimir's chosen, holding the line, backed up by Harbingers and some Belligear halberds. This is not going to be an easy thing for Mordor to overcome. Not with the troops that he has available to him. That artillery, though, definitely evening the fight out a little bit. Looks like Umbar in the background. You can see that they're returning the favor in a big way, frying hundreds of those orcs there with every volley. It's a beautiful thing. But I want to see what Dol Amroth is up to right now. You can see that they've moved in a significant portion of their troops. Sin of the Dark Cloud on the front lines, moving up to support his ally Hung Lo. Some great teamwork here. These Belfalas Marines backing up some of the heavier infantry from Sin of the Dark Cloud are going to make a formidable 1-2 combination that Umbar, I think, is going to really struggle to overcome with their forces. Over here, you can see that WK is actually moving in at the same time with his Haradrim, trying to get into the back, I believe, of the Umbar line. We got another scrap going down here. Some Abrazanim Nardu Tariq, who are a multiple HP, very strong heavy infantry unit, a little bit cheaper than some of the more elite Umbar units, but nonetheless, definitely good for what they cost in a fight here with the Muhad Berserkers. And they're not doing too bad. But their thin lines are going to be overrun. And it looks like WK has actually brought up some of his javelin men down there as well. You can see the Muhad tribesmen just pelting this Umbar line, and Happy Meal really beset on all sides here. And his ally has kind of fallen back, so there's not a whole lot that he can do except try to hold out for as long as possible. He's basically fighting the entirety of the Mordor army all by himself. WK now moving in with the contingent of his Trollmen of Harad. That is going to turn this fight around real fast. Those Trollmen, as I mentioned in the introduction, very, very strong, very cost-efficient. Yeah, unfortunately for those Muhad Berserkers, they're just not able to bust through this line on their own. The Belgier Halberds now pushing forward, trying to lend more support in the melee to those Abrazani Mardu Tariq. Looks like I like this. I think WK is going to try and cycle these guys in and out like you would with cavalry and get their charge going, which is not a bad idea at all. Some really great infantry command. Over here we can see some more Corsair Blackguards from Happy Meal trying to move in and lend a little bit of aid to his flagging defensive line. You can see this catapult unit here. One of them lit on fire. I don't know what happens in the few moments that we were away, but damn, Happy Meal is really struggling now. His catapult piece is being destroyed just systematically by the Mordor player. There goes that one catapult piece. You can see that the Mumakil have now joined the fight. Look at the damage that they are doing to these guys. And this Mumakil now charging up the hill. Oh, that was close. That catapult got off a nice shot there. Took down one of the Mumakil. Oh, man, those Mumakil are just tearing right through that Umbar line. Look at this. The Umbar forces just don't have an answer. They don't have the javelins that they need. I think Happy Meal is actually bringing them up right now. You can see that those Corsair Blackguards are arriving a little bit too late to the party and are now stuck in melee with that unit of Mumakil. That is going to be devastating. Look at this. Look at the casualties begin to happen. Like 20 of them in just a second here. That Mumakil is going to destroy them. And now the Umbar forces officially overrun by these by the addition of these great beasts of war from Harad. Look at that. That catapult unit now down. Barely anything left in the catapult crew. Just 20 of them, down from like 60-something. Of course, their Blackguards just trapped in melee with these great elephants, not able to get out because of how fast they are and how easy it is for them to be pushed through. Look at this. Look at the damage being done to these elites. That is devastating. These guys need to get out of there as quickly as possible, try and reform, maybe get a javelin volley off to try and even this fight out. So I think the Umbar forces here definitely overrun at this point. Happy Meal's probably going to be in full retreat. In the back here, you can see that the Mordor forces have managed to break through the line, or at least they're just forcing their way through the thin defensive line remaining from the Belgier Footmen and the Belgier Halberds, now on the verge of routing, and there they go. Umbar overrun. Happy Meal's valiant defense was only able to hold out for so long against the massed forces of those Uruks and their Haradrim allies. You can see Happy Meal falling back with everything that he can save. Got some Belgier Halberds here moving back to join his ally. Some Castemirs chosen, and some Harbingers from Castamir over here as well. So Happy Meal still in the game, able to fall back to his ally's defensive position. Though it's unfortunate that his ally wasn't able to lend him a little bit of hand, but maybe it turned out to be for the best. But let's move down here. You can see, oh man, these poor Dol-Amroth Marines just getting pelted by javelins, by arrows from the Umbar forces stationed up there above the cliff face. Really nice positional play on the part of Son of Imladris. He's made Dol-Amroth pay quite grievously for their incursion into the city of Mirlond. Look at this. That's got to be at least 100 of them dead on the ground right there. Those Belfast Marines have really suffered. Probably not a good idea to have them go in as the front line. Looks like we got a fight going on down here. WK at the same time he's moving into Happy Meal's back line, trying to cut off any retreat and isolate his forces. Looks like Dol-Amroth has actually moved in with their legions of troops onto this bridge and are now contesting this crossing here with the forces of Harad. I don't think that's going to be an easy fight for the Dol-Amroth warriors, though. Look at this. Harad is very much entrenched. He's already brought up his elites. He's in a good position with those tribesmen already, and he's still got a lot of his forces in the back here. So let's. Oh wow! Speaking of forces in the back on this beach area, looks like Dol-Amroth trying to get some pot shots in here against the Melkor's Chosen and the mounted Númenorian Shield Guard from Carindol, and possibly even some of these Haradrim units as well. It looks like they managed to get a little piece of them, but nothing terribly devastating. But these Mordor cavalry really need to be careful. If Carindol doesn't see what's happening here, he could lose these guys. Although maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Definitely doesn't have a lot of uses for cavalry in the tight quarters inside the city of Mirlond. But let's slow it down a little bit and take a look at some of the remaining reserves from Dol-Amroth, just so we get a sense of what they're still playing with. Still got a lot of Marines here. The first wave, really only a portion of their strength, and there's a lot of forces and elites yet to come from Sin of the Dark Cloud. So let's move back to the bridge and see if there's anything developing here. can see the WK was kind of trying to test the resolve of the Dol Amroth fighters by sending out for a small feint of his Muhad Berserkers, maybe trying to inflict some light casualties, but they got themselves gunned down by those well-placed Hearthare marksmen up there by Son of the Dark Cloud. Hung Low now moving forward with his Belfloss Marines. I think he's probably wanting to pick a fight with those Trollmen across the way. Not a bad idea at all. As I mentioned earlier, the Trollmen are very vulnerable to missiles. That's like their biggest counter, I think, and the biggest and most important thing that he can do to that elite unit. Over here, we can see the Happy Meal's defense largely been swept away. There's like this tiny pocket over here that was punched through by some Mumakil, actually. Looks like WK is really everywhere all at once with that important battering ram punching through Happy Meal's defenses. We've got some magical torches over here swirling around the feet of these banner carriers. I love it. But not very much left from Umbar on this side. You can see this very valiant last stand here. The Nardu Tariq, alongside their brothers, the Beliar Halberds, putting up a brave stand. But it's going to be all for naught, I think. Let's see what we got left up here. Does Happy Meal have any forces stationed up on this top level? He does not. So this section of the city, this southern portion, has almost been completely cleared of the forces of Umbar. And now Mordor is moving in, just wiping out whatever remains from them and consolidating the gains that they've made. From the cheering, it looks like they just finished wiping out everything that remains of the Umbar forces still out here. So now there's just this one entrenched position from Umbar. They're definitely on the back foot at this point. Let's take a look at this defense right here. You can see some Castemirs chosen, bunched in with the Beliar Halberds. That's not going to be an easy line to punch through unless they get those Mumakil in there. So it'd be interesting to see how the attackers manage to deal with Umbar. Umbar's still in the game at this point. They've got a great defensive position, and if the attackers don't work together and they wipe each other out, I mean, Umbar's they're just gonna sweep them. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage their resources. Oh, let's see, what do we got over here? It looks like a little bit of a flanking maneuver maybe on the part of Cannon Fodder. He's seen that Dol Amroth has kind of left their flank wide open. So maybe Umbar will let them pass. Maybe they're going to open up an offensive against the Corsairs, or maybe Umbar's going to let them come in here and flank Dol Amroth, who really has concentrated a lot of their forces down here on the bridge. We can see this fight, or a fight, beginning to materialize here between a small number of Trollmen and a large number of Dol Amroth infantry. But because of how bunched up they are, they're going to be easy prey for those Muhad tribesmen just across the way. And you can see the Dol Amroth Marines trying to get themselves into position, put some counterfire down there, but damn, are they getting cut down by those Muhads. Yeah, the Muhad Beastieers moving in to try and protect the front of their skirmishers, and they're going to get there just in time. And these Belfloss Marines are going to run into a brick wall. There's no way they're coming out of this alive. There's way too many pikes there. Pikes actually beginning to wrap around them. Those Belfloss Marines are in a lot of trouble. And it looks to me like those Muhads have actually redirected their fire now into the front of these Dol Amroth men-at-arms. You can see just how grievously they've suffered. This is nearly a full unit a few moments before. Dol Amroth undeterred, throwing in wave after wave of their troops. I think we've got a couple units of Belfloss Marines there trying to take the fight to the Haradrim, but the Haradrim are just so entrenched that it's not going to be an easy thing to dislodge them. Dol Amroth definitely has some of the tools that they'll need, though. Those tier 3 marksmen are going to do a number on these lightly armed Haradrim units, but damn, has the cost been high. I think at this point it'd be better for Dol Amroth to just pull back, cut their losses, and try and get out of there with what remains of their infantry. Belfloss Marines trying to set themselves up for a nice volley, but these Muhad tribesmen are actually going to be able to get in there and disrupt them. So the Belfloss Marines are going to have to clear these guys out, which means that they're going to be easy prey for counters on the part of Harad. But it doesn't look like Harad is too interested right now. I think what Harad is trying to do here is just delay Dol Amroth a little bit and move in with the rest of their forces, link up with Mordor, because there is no way that Dol Amroth is going to win this fight. If they want to push uphill against all of these Mordor forces, against this beautiful defensive position that Mordor and the Haradrim have taken up, then Dol Amroth will get butchered. So this is ultimately a really good strategy, actually. They're inflicting heavy casualties on Dol Amroth, taking light casualties themselves, and then basically forcing Dol Amroth to participate in an exchange that is really not in their favor. So great tactics there on the part of the Mordor attacking forces. Let's see what's happening over here. Looks like Dol Amroth has moved in to try and cover their flank. Actually, Cannon Fodder is just going to remain over on the other end here with his Mordor Morin on Halberds just to try and lock down this bridge. But I think the presence of all of those javelins may be making him a little bit squiffy about maintaining his position here. So it looks like he's actually trying to fall back with some of his mortar halberds, just get them a little bit farther back, and you can see that he's got some support here in case anything tries to sally across that river and take them by surprise. These Mumikil still around. They've taken casualties, probably about half the unit so far, but yeah, still strong, still here, still able to assist the assault. Let's see how Umbar is doing. Umbar is kind of just biding their time. Actually, I think they're going to toss some javelins down here into some of those Belfast Marines. They're being pelted now from the heights by the Casimir's Rangers. And I think there's maybe some archers over here as well. Look at that. Those Casimir Rangers is raining down death upon the Belfast Marines. This is really unfortunate. The Belfast Marines are great medium infantry, and it seems almost like they're being wasted a little bit by continuously running through this kind of dead man zone and just getting themselves shot down by Umbar. Maybe they're just trying to waste as much of their ammunition as possible by using some of their lower tier units as cannon fodder, which, not a bad idea. But this cannon fodder also happens to be a javelin unit who are pretty damn strong. So Dol Amroth has actually managed to get a lot of the missile units up here to begin to put down a little bit of return fire onto the Umbar forces up on the heights, but it does look like Carindol is going to let them just live in peace. You can see the Mumikil trying to force their way over this bridge, not doing it very well because of the pathfinding, but one of them is actually going to make it, which means that the rest of them possibly have a chance, though he's actually kind of turning around now. It looks like the plan here is to move up with the Mumikil and try and support them a little bit with those halberds and inflict ever-mounting casualties on the forces of Dol Amroth. But so far, those Mumikil really struggling and actually kind of screwing up Cannon Fodder's advance with his halberds as well by pushing half the unit back across the bridge. So because of the pathfinding, it was a good idea on the part of Mordor and Harad here, but it doesn't look like the pathfinding is really going to allow for that kind of tactic in this battle. But I want to know what the rest of the Mordor forces are doing. They're just kind of sitting here, just kind of consolidating their gains right now. Actually, looks like they might be trying to kind of soften up the Umbar forces. So we may see Dol Amroth and Mordor kind of run afoul of each other here. Dol Amroth definitely being contained very much by the forces of Umbar. And now that Mordor has moved into this area, it's going to be even harder for Dol Amroth to accomplish anything because Mordor they have so many missile troops and great places to put them. And just infantry after infantry unit to drown Dol Amroth behind in a sea of bodies. But over here we can see these Uruk archers from Apollo trying to soften up what looks like the front lines of Umbar, which is a good idea. The Bellier halberds, and I think there's some spearmen maybe in there as well. No, it's just a double line of halberds. They are quite vulnerable to missiles. That is definitely a viable counter to them. But I don't know if the Uruk archers really have the missile damage to reliably take down these halberds. So it doesn't look like they're taking very many casualties at all. So maybe there's something a little bit higher caliber that's going to be needed to break through this Umbar defense. Yeah, because at the moment they just seem to be kind of weathering that arrow storm. And those Casimir's Chosen are going to be completely unaffected by it, so... Let's see what we got going on down here. It looks like Dol Amroth trying to get an assault underway. Of course, their Blackguards, though, probably having used their entire Javelin clutch, going to counter-charge into those Belfalos Marines. Oh, I can just see that front line falling like crazy. Beautiful counter-charge there by Son of Imladris. These tier air marksmen in the back. Looks like they were trying to maybe tie up the Corsair Blackguards, but they just weren't able to hold them down. Now they're going to charge downhill, try and countercharge these guys. But it's very disorganized. Not a lot of them are really managing to get down there, except this banner carrier. Look at this guy. That's very heroic. Yeah, this Corsair Blackguard's going to fall back. It looks like Hung Lo is maybe trying to draw them down into the lowlands where they can be surrounded. Not a bad idea at all. There's some Dol Amroth men at arms down there who would do that job very nicely. And indeed, there's an archer unit that was charging downhill trying to get these guys as well. But Son of Imladris is going to notice what's happening. He's paying enough attention that he's not going to be able to be suckered out of position any further. And now he's trying to get back up that hill. But he's going to be pinned in place by those tier 3 marksmen. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly Dol Amroth does in this situation. They've got a great chance to throw some javelins into the rear. But it looks like they're a little bit concerned with that troll catapult crew, who I guess are out of ammunition. Oh my goodness. Down here in the bridge, Dol Amroth trying the same trick twice. Trying to push through the forces of Harad, and there's some Muhad Berserkers in the front, backed up by a small but entrenched unit of Mordor Moranon Halberdiers. And up there on that cliffside, that troll catapult from cannon fodder is just raining down death and destruction upon Dol Amroth. Dol Amroth really is not in a good position here. They've lost a lot of troops, taking extremely heavy casualties, and for not a lot of gain, really. Looks like Harad is actually going to force its way across the bridge now that they've beaten back Dol-Amroth. Dol-Amroth doesn't really seem to have any reserve units still left. There's this endless supply of Belfalas Marines that are now moving in to try and counter those pikes, and indeed they're going to be able to do a good job of it. Also, another unit of Belfalas Marines and some Nimrodel Rangers who appear to be out of ammo, so maybe we're going to see them down in the fight as well. They're going to shred those Muha tribes, and that's not even going to be fair. But Dol-Amroth still has their elites. Look at this. They are nowhere near out of troops. This battle is extremely long. We're like not even a third of the way through it. All right, let's take a look at how Umbar is managing to fare against Mordor, and it looks like Mordor has managed to get into their front line now, which this is going to be, I think, where it's decided for Umbar. They've got a great defensive line here, but if Mordor manages to get through it with those Mumakil, for example, or some trolls, or whatever they happen to have, then this flank will collapse, and I think the Umbar forces are going to find themselves flanked and isolated, especially if an assault begins on the other end from Dol-Amroth, if they manage to get their elite corps in there. So Umbar in a good spot, but still, it's precarious. I love this. I love being down here in the fight like this. Casimir's Chosen fighting bravely on the front lines. These Beligear Halberds need to move forward. They definitely need to get forward and try and support them. You can see javelins being thrown in the back from the Corsair Blackguard, cutting a bloody path through these Uruks. Defeat apparently certain for these troops. Yeah, those missiles just raining down death and destruction upon Mordor. But this is where it's going to get interesting. Those Temple Inquisitors, especially against these Casimir's Chosen, who I think are a little bit tired and quite depleted at this point from having fought in 2 major engagements, are really going to struggle against those Temple Inquisitors. The only thing that can save this flank, I think, for Umbar at this point is some javelin fire, some concentrated javelin fire on those elites, but it doesn't look like they're too interested. Son of Elijah is going to fall back, leave Happy Meal to hold the line all by himself. That is very unfortunate. But I think that Son of Elijah definitely recognizes the danger that he's in here of finding these forces outflanked and pinned. So he's actually going to fall back. Everything that's important, those Casimir's Rangers, that catapult, they're all going to fall back here behind the defensive line that he's already set up with his Naru and some of his elites up here as well. So Son of Elijah definitely cutting his losses here, I think, but Happy Meal is going to stay behind and bravely hold the line against these Mordor forces and give Son of Elijah the opportunity that he needs to get away with the bulk of his force. Looks like Mordor is really they're going after something in here. I'm not too sure what it is. Oh, I think I know what it is. I think there's a defensive line that's been set up by Happy Meal. He's got a unit of Beligear archers in here who are really just a holding force. You can see him moving in, or Son of Elijah's actually moving in with some of his Casimir's Chosen. So an elite unit being committed to this pass to try and hold things down. These poor Beligear archers are really in for a bad time. This is not the kind of fighting that they're good at. As Mordor Uruks just running headlong right into the Beligear archers. That is not going to be a fight these guys win. Although with the addition of these Casimir's Chosen in the back here, maybe. I love this. So he's just going to let those Beligear archers kind of wear these guys down. They're already winded. If they get to the point where they're tired and they're running up against a fresh unit of Casimir's Chosen, that is not even going to be fair for those Uruks. This is good tactics here on the part of Happy Meal and Son of Elijah. So I have to say, generally, I've been impressed with the teamwork from all sides in this.
The enemy are badly bloodied.
Son of Elijah is getting some more reserve units into position. You can see a very healthy unit of course, their Blackguard and actually some Nardar Royal Archers, well protected from the catapult fire that Mordor is trying to put into them. See them just raining down death and destruction upon these Mordor Uruks. Although with the loss of Son of Imladris' forces, these Beligear Halberds are going to begin to crumble. And you can already see it happening. Temple Inquisitors have kind of muscled their way through there. Carindel just kind of pushing his way through the thin line. Looks like maybe one of the Haradrim generals has fallen. Let's see what's going on back here. It looks like Dol-Amroth was trying to move their artillery pieces into the city, but Harad just wasn't having any of it. You can see that their bodyguard managed to get in here, caused a lot of damage to the Muhad Beastmasters as well. You can see what remains of the Haradrim force actually has come up against the Dol-Amroth elites. With enough of the elite forces, though, they are going to be able to beat down these outnumbered and fatigued Trollmen of Harad. Nice charge here into the rear of some of Harad's forces. A beautiful hammer and anvil while these Belfalas Marines were holding the line. Great teamwork there on the part of Hung Lo and Sin of the Dark Cloud, definitely capitalizing on some of the mistakes here. Looks like Harad really overextended themselves and is actually kind of getting their head chopped off in a lot of ways. Those Trollmen of Harad are definitely a big loss, and looks like maybe they're going to throw some more forces in there to try and keep Dol Amroth occupied. So another unit of Trollmen, another unit of Muhad. So Harad not done yet. Definitely wanting a piece of the Dol Amroth elites, possibly sensing an opportunity here to inflict crippling damage upon their foes, while the rest of his 3 allies are pushing hard against Umbar. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward that just a little bit. Get these guys across the bridge, because I'm really eager to see what happens to them. But maybe we'll move on just for a moment and see how Umbar is doing. They've fallen back yet again. Actually, they don't want to defend this point at all. I think that's a shame. I think down here they had a great position. Could have put some archers up there on the hill. Even some artillery right here while they hold this area right here. That would have been devastating. So it's unfortunate to see Umbar abandon that opportunity, but I'm sure Son of Imladris has a plan. Speaking of, we can see that Mordor has broken through that final defense there. Happy Meal's final defense, and are now just pushing forward relentlessly. Maybe now's a good time to stop and rest. A lot of the troops are quite exhausted and therefore not as combat effective as they would normally be. And I mean, they're orcs, so they're already not all that great. But yeah, Cannon Fodder and Carindol just moving forward together, getting ready to engage the forces of Umbar. I think maybe they're hoping to catch these guys before they can form up, but it's way too late for that. The delaying action from Happy Meal, I think, has had the intended effect, and now Umbar is going to be able to draw a lot of their forces back up here onto this hill. Let's take a look at how Harad is doing. Looks like they've kind of finally come across the bridge here. Those Trollmen of Harad really... actually, they're kind of struggling against the Talonites. Talonites seem to have really high mass, and I've actually seen a few of the Trollmen go flying. So these Talonites are just pushing right through there, and look at this. They're actually doing a decent amount of damage to those Trollmen. Although they are going to find themselves surrounded, so I think that this is probably the worst thing that the Talonites could have done, but it seemed like they're just managing to kill units just by the sheer mass that the Talonites can bring to bear. But Harad really doubling down here. Another unit of pikes, it looks like, have been committed to that battle, along with the Trollmen of Harad in the front lines, who have now surrounded these guys. Counter push from those pikes with their high mass. God, there's just so many of them. I can't even tell where those Swan Knights are anymore. They've all just been dragged down under the sheer weight of Harad. Harad's just wasting no time in breaking through the Dol Amroth defenses. I can see why. Oh man, those Trollmen of Harad really suffering in the hands of those Belfast Marines. Finally hung low, managing to give Harad a taste of their own medicine, getting those javelins going, and now moving in to allow them to retreat under cover of another unit of Talonites. Got some artillery coming in as well. Not having the desired effect. It looks like those 2 Dol Amroth artillery pieces are back online.
They have lost half their men.
I think this is where Dol Amroth is really going to start to turn the tide against Harad. Harad is very bunched up here, and they are so lightly armored that the Dol Amroth forces are going to be able to take them from all sides and just pelt them from missiles while their superior infantry does its work. Harad, though, undeterred, really just going for it. WK moving in with some Muhad tribesmen. We've got some reinforcements in the back there. Some Demons of the Desert, in fact, who have now been brought to bear. Another very elite Javelin unit. Can be very useful against the Adelon Halberdiers in particular. Oh man, how did this happen? A unit of Trollmen just managed to get up here into the Adelon Halberdiers. They are a little bit surrounded. But those Trollmen are going to hold out for quite some time. Actually, it looks like the remains of maybe the first wave. The Muhad Berserkers also up here trying to support the Trollmen as best they can. Dol Amroth has really contained the Haradrim forces, and I think they're going to start to pull it back. After it, and honestly, Dol Amroth needed it. They needed this victory because they had just been pummeled and ganged up on by both sides. So things looking pretty dire for Harad there, in my opinion. Let's see what we got going on up here. Mordor has actually moved in with some of their cavalry. Oh yeah, all of their cavalry. In fact, got the Melkor Chosen up here as well. They're now in a pretty good position, I think, to engage the forces of Umbar. What do we got here? It looks like the warlords of Umbar were running kind of like lightning strikes against these very isolated, very small bands of Uruks. Not a bad idea, but I think now that the rest of the Mordor forces have joined the fray, that's going to be time for them to fall back. I don't really know what kind of missile units that Umbar has left. Seems like they've fired a lot of missiles at a lot of Mordor cannon fodder, so I don't think this is going to come down to a missile standoff. I think that if Mordor still has missile troops with ammunition, they're going to be able to just come up here and pelt Umbar as much as they like until Umbar gets sick of it and tries to charge downhill to sweep them away. So let's see what's happening here. Mordor has moved up with a significant amount of their forces, but they're really looking worse for wear at this point. It looks like the rest of the Mumakil somehow died here, possibly because of the Corsair Javelins up there in the hill. In fact, I'm almost certain of it. There's still a Troll Catapult online, but Mordor is really looking beat up at this point. Just look at the death toll. Look at what they've paid to get to the point that they are at right now. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at how things are going for Dol Amroth. Yes, I gotta know. I don't know. Harad's made some headway, it would appear to me. With all of these javelins, let's see where they're going to toss them. I don't know. Looks like they're just kind of sitting there staring at things. Looks like they're trying to focus on the heavy infantry to my eye. Dol Amroth, though, definitely not done. A lot of elites left. A lot of forces still yet to be thrown into this. Tirthair Wardens moving up alongside some marksmen and some Talon Knights. Actually, a unit of Haven Guard, Hunglo's Haven Guard, about to rush into that battle. I'm not sure that's a good idea with those Demons of the Desert down there alongside the Muhad tribesmen. That could result in the very swift death of a very elite and a very important unit. Oh man, this poor Adelian Halberdier is really not having a good time. Hunglo is just going to go for it, though. Oh man, now you could see the javelin fire be thrown into this advancing mob of Dol Amroth infantry. This is what I was afraid of. This is just such a juicy target. Look at this. Oh, this is definitely a mistake on the part of Dol Amroth. Their elite forces are going to suffer so badly here. Pinned in place by pikes, and just being relentlessly pelted by those Javi units down there in the little lower level. Yeah, so Dol Amroth definitely had the advantage for a while, but I think the addition of oh man! The friendly fire, though! Just ripping that whole wing asunder. Oh my goodness. At least they got the Trollman. Yep, they definitely got the Trollman. And everything else around them. That was a mistake, I think, on the part of Hunglo right there. And that artillery unit still firing. Oh, please no, I can't watch it a second time. Demons of the Desert now out of ammunition, I would assume, if they're in combat here. Well, that'll be interesting. I think the Talon Knights, their superior armor is going to come out on top for them here. The Demons of the Desert are not well armored at all. You can see it. They're just wearing nothing but like loincloths. Alright, so it looks like Hunglo has actually turned off his trebuchet, so we're not going to have to watch another massacre. Thank God for that. I don't think my sensibilities could have taken it. Harad now beginning to be pushed back a little bit. I think because they've run out of ammunition for their Javies that things not going so great. Oh no, you know what? I spoke way too soon. Their front lines, though, this Muhad Beastsaber is just not able to stand up to those Haven Guard and other elites up there on the hill. Especially not with his height differential. Look at that. Let's get right in there. A beautiful sight. Trollmen and Knights of Dol Amroth hacking at each other. What's not to love? I think Dol Amroth is going to start to pull this back here. Once the front line is broken, these Muhad tribes are going to have nowhere to run. And, yeah, things not going to go so great for them. So let's go ahead and check up on Mordor and see what they're up to. See how they're going to deal with this entrenched position. So we've got their front line moving forward to engage. The Warlords of Umbar are going to answer, though. Look at that. They're going to run right into those light, medium, and medium troops. And they're going to cut them down like nobody's business. Yeah, the Warlords of Umbar are not doing too bad. Falling back quickly out of there. Hold on. Can I just pause this for a moment and just appreciate the colors on these guys? That purple trim, I love it. Such a beautifully done unit. Mordor Moranon bows and the Mordor Moranon Uruks not really having a good time. They haven't even managed to make it to the front lines yet. And look at this. Those are Belgier halberds backed up by Nar Royal Spearmen. I'm not too sure whose general that was. I think it might have been the Dol Amroth general, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, still waiting for things to kind of evolve up here. Oh man, Mordor has brought up its catapult and some reinforcements. The Warlords of Umbar going to take this opportunity to charge downhill into some of the advancing Mordor reinforcements, and damn, the result is devastating. Look at that. Those Uruks just got swept away. Warlords of Umbar, I think, may get a counter charge by some Uruk archers. Nothing too scary there. Son of Mirlond just going to pull them out as quickly as possible and throw them into... I think he's going to try and throw them into the back of the Mordor lines, but those Temple Inquisitors there, it's going to be easier said than done. Carindal's Temple Inquisitors could do a number on these Warlords of Umbar. Instead, it's looking like the Son of Mirlond just going to try and get in behind, getting into the archers. This is the smart play right here, especially if Umbar does not have any remaining archers left. Look at that. That was a devastating blow to Mordor's remaining skirmish forces. Looks like Carindal is going to try and get in there with some of his... Oh no, those are just officers, not actually Temple Inquisitors. But he needs to close off this gap here and isolate these Warlords of Umbar and somehow find a way to deal with them, because their advantage was that they had the bow forces to just kind of sit here and poke away at Umbar until there was nothing left. But at the moment, Umbar, just by being really aggressive, I think has really regained that advantage. And now a lot of these Uruks are going to have to just move up, I think, well before their time, unsupported, into Castimir's Chosen, Beligir Halberds, and all kinds of mean stuff. Oh, I'm not sure if that was friendly fire or what. I'm thinking it wasn't. I'm thinking that was a nice shot down there from the Mordor catapult. You can see the Troll catapult down there in the lower level, in a great position to fire upwards into these Umbar defensive lines, really causing a lot of damage. Yeah, there's a nice shot right there. Is he going to get anybody? Oh, it was very close, though. Oh, there was a hidden unit back here. Probably some of the Corsairs. Some of the Blackguard, I mean, specifically. Well, that is unfortunate. Yeah, this is really the weakness of Umbar's defense. They just don't have any missile units. They just weren't able to save them because of how many forces are arrayed against them. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell when you're going to need those missile units, but always try and save some of them for the late game, because this is the kind of situation you could sometimes find yourself in. All right, let's slow things down here just a little bit so we don't miss too much. Move back down and see how Harad has fared, and not very well from the looks of things. Look at this. This was a massacre, and I don't think Harad really has anything left at this point. So many of their forces died here in this little gap. But the Doloran forces, I think, were significantly weakened as well. This Haven Guard down to about half strength, and these Talon Knights as well. Still tired, still 86 in the unit, but I bet you they've lost a lot of HP. Not to mention the lighter and heavier rank and file forces from Doloran are almost completely gone. So now they're going to have to rely on what few units still remain to them. I say few, but it seems like they have quite a lot, but I know that they've taken really heavy casualties. You can see them just all along this street, just callously walking by the bodies of their slain comrades. And it looks like they want to get a piece of Umbar as well, probably trying to avenge the suffering that Umbar caused them. Although if they're going to do that, they are going to run afoul of Mordor, so maybe Doloran is going to kind of just wait down there, or they're going to charge into the backs of Mordor. I'm not convinced that that would be a good idea. I think it would probably be smarter to let Mordor just kind of break themselves on Umbar's lines and just wear them down as much as possible. Let's see what we got here. We got some Temple Inquisitors in the centerpiece here fighting against an Arnor Royal Guard. But with the Beligir Halberds at their back, they're going to push these guys back really, really efficiently. All the way down the line, it really seems like Umbar is holding extremely well. Excuse me, a little bit of a yawn there. The Mordor forces really trying their best to press hard, but there's just not enough of them. Uruk archers in combat against Beligir Halberds. This has got to be a desperation play. So the Mordor forces have managed to break through and inflict some fairly heavy casualties on those Warlords of Umbar who we saw earlier. But I don't know if the forces that they're going to get around there with if it's going to be enough. There's a lot of cap. Although, you know what? Look at this. Apollo's kept a very strong force of Uruks in reserve. So maybe now is the time to commit them, or maybe they want to wait and see what Doloran is all about. Because right now, they are taking heavy casualties. So even if they manage to defeat Umbar, there is still Doloran to deal with. Look at this. Look at those skirmish forces down there. Really, really taking it for all it's worth. Happy Meal still has some forces. Some Corsair Fencers, actually. I didn't know what these guys were doing back here. Or I didn't know that they were back here. But they're like AP, lightly armored kind of fencing units that can do a lot of damage to heavy infantry. I assume because of the rapiers that they wield, allowing them to reach weak points in armor and things like that. But in any case, the Corsair Fencers are very strong. They have multiple HP as well. Yeah, really no missiles left from Umbar at this point. You can see their reserve forces being targeted quite heavily by Mordor. Oh man, I don't know what happened here, but these Warlords of Umbar just got heavily reduced. The Mountain Numenorians from Carindel charging into the battle, pulling out at the last minute. That's a good idea. These Belligear Halberds from the front would have butchered those guys. But yeah, Mordor doesn't really have anything left. It's going to be down, I think, to Dol Amroth. Like, Dol Amroth's definitely got the most sizable force, I think, remaining on the battlefield. And they are now moving into position to get ready to assault the beleaguered Umbar defense forces once the Mordor army begins to fall apart. I think that's going to be pretty soon. I can't see anything that they've got left that's significant. Like, what do we got over here? We got an Uruk bodyguard from Apollo. We got another catapult and things like that. Maybe. I don't know. The catapult should definitely be on the front lines, though. Oh, look at this. Dol Amroth has actually moved in with some of their Nirmaldale archers. And they're able to put some fire into, I think it's probably the Mordor catapult. That's probably the best thing that they can do at this point. I don't know. Let's see what they're doing. Actually, those Nirmaldale rangers now falling back. Cannon Fodder's going to try and move his catapult into a little bit of a stronger position. Down here we got some Morgul Chosen. I didn't even know these guys were here. Morgul Chosen backed up by some Shield Guard. So Mordor does have some significant infantry forces left. Numenorian Shield Guard are really reliable, strong, heavy infantry. And of course there's actually Temple Inquisitors here from Cannon Fodder as well. So Mordor, you know what? Mordor's still definitely in the game at this point. They've got more Shield Guard. They've got some tribesmen from WK and other things like that down there, so they're still in the game. And that bodyguard from Apollo, which I think needs to move into this behind this defensive line here before they get themselves isolated and surrounded. Let's see. Looks like they're finally starting to make a little bit of headway here. These Mordor heavy maulers, though, somehow thinking about routing 165 of them in the unit. They should not be that demoralized. Yeah, you can really see the attrition and the fatigue starting to take its toll on the Umbar defenders. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward this just a little bit. It's a beautiful thing. A beautiful, beautiful thing. There's Narnar Royal Guard backing up this Belligear Halberd. It's going to hold for a while. Got some out of ammunition Narnar Royal Archers now on the battle line. A lot of Corsair Blackguard back here. I don't know how Umbar managed to come out this strong. I think most of this is Son of Imladris' army. He just kind of let his enemies destroy each other, and let Happy Meal do a lot of the heavy lifting. But that strategy has really paid off. Everyone else has paid a terrible, terrible cost for where they are in the game right now, except for Son of Imladris, who still has some pretty decent forces left at his command. Well, let's flip on back over to Dol Amroth and see what they're up to, because I think this is going to be what Dol Amroth decides to do at this point is going to decide the outcome of the game. Mordor probably won't beat Umbar on their own, so they're going to need their ally here. But if they're not their ally, but they're going to need to temporarily come to some kind of agreement here with Dol Amroth. But if Dol Amroth attacks them, that's all she wrote for Mordor. And I don't know, it'll be a lot more even, I think, between what Dol Amroth has left and what Umbar has left. Let's see what we got here. We got some Haven Guard moving forward. Looking like maybe they want to get a piece of Mordor. And what do we got here? Actually, Mordor... No. This is Umbar being attacked on the other side. So there is some teamwork here. We can see some collaboration between the attacking armies. Dol Amroth is using their Tirthair Wardens to try and press this flank of Umbar and give Mordor basically a smaller front to concentrate their forces on, which is a smart move. I have to say that's impressive teamwork. Yeah, Mordor's just kind of letting their forces peter out. Maybe there's some kind of gentleman's agreement here that they'll let Dol Amroth go in next. But I can see those Uruk forces just being handily defeated. The death toll here is just spectacular. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward a little bit here. It's starting to slow down just a little bit as more and more forces are dead and there's less fronts for all these forces to fight independently on. Yeah, Umbar is holding, but look at the fatigue. Look at what's been done to these guys. They're going to be at a big disadvantage once they run afoul of some of these elite forces. Dol Amroth has exhausted themselves, so maybe it won't be quite as one-sided in favor of the Gondorians, but I don't know. They've still got a lot of really strong elite units left. Let's see what Mordor is up to. Just kind of sitting here, just kind of biding their time, and I guess that's not a bad idea. They've only got so many forces left. They've got like a lot of Uruks there, and some cavalry and things like that. Actually, some Sauron's will, but I think they definitely want to let Dol Amroth go first. Got some arrow fire coming in? From whom? Oh, maybe there is still a unit of archers up here. See, these Nar Royal Archers from Son of Imladris still have ammunition at this late point in the battle, and they're putting out a lot of fire into those Melkor's Chosen. And it looks like, you know, they managed to inflict some casualties, which is very unfortunate for those Melkor Chosen. They're an important heavy cavalry unit that could be used to great effect in pushing through the Umbar defenses. Well, let's see what Dol Amroth is up to. Looks like they've actually run afoul of some of the Mordor forces. Got some Uruks backing up Morgul's Chosen there. Normally, this is a fight that these guys would win handily. But because of how exhausted they are, Dol Amroth, I think, is really going to struggle in future engagements unless they give themselves an opportunity to rest up. Yeah, those Haven Guard doing their best, whacking away those Morgul's Chosen. Balance of forces fairly evenly matched at this point, which is surprising given the elite status of those units. But it looks like Umbar is actually going to sally. Look at this. They're not going to give Mordor the opportunity to just kind of wear them down. Mordor and Dol Amroth to just team up against them. Son of Imladris and Happy Meal are just going to be super aggressive. Look at this. Beautiful charge into the front of those Tirith Wardens. Because of how fresh these Harbingers of Castamere are, this is not going to be a fun fight for those spearmen. They're already at a disadvantage given that they are spearmen fighting sword units, but the disparity in power and in attack and in fatigue is going to be incredible. Look at this, a big commitment here. All of the elite units, of course, our Blackguard, Fencers, pushing hard against these Wardens. Oh man, you can just hear those Wardens being whacked apart. Beautiful. These are 2 HP spearmen too. It's not easy to hurt them. More and more forces, more Casamir's Chosen now pressing themselves into the fray. Looks like they're just going to overwhelm the Dol Amroth front line by sheer weight of numbers. Over here, the Haven Guard and what remains of the Knights of the Silver Swan, or the Talon Knights, pinned between Mordor and Umbar. Look at this little three-way fight going on here. Umbar just patiently waiting for to see how Dol Amroth does. They're just slowly inching their way in there. Look at this. Umbar definitely playing its cards right. I love to see that aggression on the part of defenders. More reinforcements moving in, looking like some Naru Royal Spearmen. These Tirith Wardens are just getting cut down. With all of the momentum that Umbar has going for them right now, I don't know how Dol Amroth is going to be able to stop him. I think we're going to see the end of Dol Amroth here, unless they're able to mount some kind of effective response to this sudden attack from Umbar. But while all this is going on, Mordor's got to be doing something, unless Umbar is attacking them on both fronts, and indeed they are. Look at this. Umbar just going to town on everybody, all of their enemies, rallying for one final charge to push their foes out of their city. I love it. Nice little fight here in the shade of the mountain between the Belgier Halberds and the Mordor Moranon Uruks. Those halberds are going to be able to hold the line for a very long time. Mordor looking like they're trying to move in with sheer weight of numbers and just try and push through the halberds. Maybe stop these Corsair Blackguards from getting themselves up here into a nice position. Looks like what they want. Oh, I see what they're doing. They're actually assassinating that Troll Catapult unit and any other Mordor forces that are stuck down here. Which also is going to give them an opportunity, I think, to move up here with their Corsair Blackguards and just toss Javies directly downhill into these Uruks. I'm loving it. The play on the part of Umbar so far has been really impressive. The rest of these Haven Guard and the Talon Knights from Dol Amroth putting up a valiant last stand, surrounded on all sides by foes. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. Just the numbers and the fatigue, how long these troops have been fighting for. I think they are going to be slowly whittled down by Umbar. Coming now back to the Dol Amroth front line. Yeah, look at this. It just swept away the Belfast Marines. They swept away the Tirith Air Marksmen and the Tirith Air Spearmen in front of them. Now it's just a thin line of Halberdiers separating the Dol Amroth army from destruction. Looks like they still got some Haven Guard down here. A very healthy unit of Haven Guard. 93 Haven Guard, in fact. I don't know if that's going to be enough to defeat all of these guys, though. Let's go ahead and let's fast forward and let's see what happens. You can see Umbar just overrunning what remains of the Dol Amroth forces. Oh! A beautiful shot there from the Trebuchet of Hung Lo. Definitely making a difference. Making up for the egregious amount of friendly lives lost in a previous friendly fire accident. Now more than making up for it. Just scything through the elite ranks of Umbar's best. This could maybe turn things around. Sin of the Dark Cloud has now moved up with his Haven Guard, forming a final line. Some of the Umbar forces managed to slip through the Adelon Halberdiers, trying to escape the bombardment from that Trebuchet, but they're going to find themselves running in to the stone wall that is the Haven Guard. Let's get right in there. The best of Dol Amroth fighting against the best of Umbar. Two hated enemies coming to blows here. This is truly awesome. Look at that. That is beautiful. Let's take a quick look and see how Mordor is responding to all of this. Got some more Uruks being thrown into the fray here against Casimir's, or the Casimir's Chosen, who are wiping out what remains of Dol Amroth. We have the Dol Amroth General, who I think is looking like he's still alive. Yes, there he is, Prince Mirlond himself. Oh man, a nice hammer and anvil attack coming into the rear of the Mordor forces. It's like cannon fodder's catapult crew here is a little bit stuck. Not able to intercept that cavalry unit before they're able to do their bloody work. Look at this. Dol Amroth's going to get a beautiful charge here. Mordor trying to countercharge, inflict as much damage as possible on the White Knights. Those White Knights are going to just crash right into the Uruks, and that may be enough to send them fleeing off the battlefield. It's looking like they're stabilizing, but those Uruks can't take too much more of that. Really nice move here on the part of Sin of the Dark Cloud. Although, honestly, I'd save my ire for the forces of Umbar. We're still very healthy. Up here you can see them. Looks like they're actually handily defeating Mordor. Not even the Númenórean Shield Guard are able to stand up to those Corsair Blackguards. And so we see some Sauron's Will and more Númenórean Shield Guard. Oh, looks like one of the Umbar generals just went down. Mordor has managed to break through that line of Billiger Halberds, so they have overrun this Umbar position here. And they're now getting into what remains of the Narnar Royal Guard and the Corsair Blackguard, who are putting up a nice little last stand here in amongst this ramp. But Dol Amroth, if Dol Amroth can't hang on, Mordor is going to be in a lot of trouble. They need Dol Amroth now more than ever, I think, because look at this. Umbar rather has cleaned out Dol Amroth, just swept them away. Now fighting hard against the Haven Guard. The Haven Guard are actually getting massacred, believe it or not. And there's nothing left from Dol Amroth. So once Dol Amroth falls, they're going to be able to bring all of these elites to bear against the flank and rear of Mordor. And that's going to be a really big problem for them. Yeah, these bunched up Númenóreans would not be able to stand up to that. Not with Corsair Blackguard pressing down on them from the heights, fresh, while the rest of these guys are looking a little bit tired. The Númenóreans are warmed up, but everything else is probably exhausted. Yeah, Umbar could be in a lot of trouble if that happens. So we've got some Uruks here from Apollo trying to scoot around one of the holes in the Umbar line. More Uruks from Apollo pouring in to the breach. This is pretty intense. Umbar needs to counter this and counter it hard, so they need to deal with Dol Amroth and move over here and deal with these guys. You can see those Corsair Blackguard just cutting people down left and right, even their Númenórean brothers. It's a beautiful thing to see. Let's see the last stand here. Let's go and witness the last stand of Dol Amroth's Haven Guard. Now pushed all the way back to their artillery pieces, behind which are hiding their remaining archer companies. Dol Amroth is in a lot of trouble. Looks like Umbar has completely overrun them. Some Aberzetti Mardi Zagai here, some of those really strong shock troops now pressing against what remains of this final pocket of Gondorian resistance. Dol-Amroth really just can't hold on too much longer. Those Haven Guard were Sin of the Dark Elves' last ace in the hole, and they've been beaten quite soundly by a combination of Umbar heavy infantry. Now that same infantry, though, is going to be in a little bit of trouble. You can see the mounted Numenorians and a large number of Melkor's Chosen charging downhill into the Harbingers of Castamere. It's going to be a pretty even fight, but Umbar not going to take it on the chin. Harbingers of Castamere, another unit of them charging downhill, looking to return the favor. I think Mordor realizes the trouble they're in. They're going to try and get out of there, but they're going to have to run right through the vengeful Umbar forces. I think those Melkor's Chosen are really going to suffer heavily for that. Look at that. You can see them just dying left and right. That unit just got devastated here by Umbar reinforcements. It was a good plan, but they just I think committed maybe a little bit too early, and they allowed themselves to be surrounded. So the cavalry unit has now seriously been reduced in its effectiveness. So I think it's fair to say at this point that Dol-Amroth is officially screwed.
Our men have slain the enemy general. Without him,
There goes, I think, the Umbar general. May have just gotten themselves into a fight here with the Melkor's Chosen. So one of the Umbar players thinks Son of Imladris has actually lost his general to the predations of those Melkor's Chosen, but they are definitely giving as good as they got. Look at this. They've pushed back the Melkor's Chosen. All of this Mordor heavy cavalry is now in full retreat. These guys are going to want to get out of there as fast as possible with those Harbingers on their heels, rather. Let's see what we got here. Mordor pushing hard against the Corsairs, but the Corsairs pushing back. Look at this. These these Umbar forces have actually managed to push the Mordor army all the way down the hill, beating back the armies of Sauron wherever the elites aren't present. There's still a lot of them left. Look, yet more Corsair Blackguard, another healthy unit of them moving down to assist their brothers here and pushing back the Numenorians and the Orcs. Let's see what we got here. Umbar forces now freed to move in and help their brothers. I think these two units, the Harbingers of Castamere, are definitely going to be a welcome sight. Looks like these Narnar Royal Archers need to be careful. Those Melkor's Chosen going right for them, going to smash right into the flank. Son of Imladris going to turn around, try and countercharge, but damn, those Narnar just got devastated. That was almost a full strength unit a moment ago. Now down to 10. That was devastating for Umbar. This heavy cavalry now looking like they've got an opportunity here, charging into the Corsair Blackguard, trying to turn this flank and surround the Umbar forces once more with a heavy cav. It was a nice move. They swept away a lot of those Corsair Blackguard in that initial charge and flattened those poor Narnar archers. Umbar just doing their best, just trying desperately to mount an effective counter to those Melkor's Chosen. Oh no, we don't want this. No, say it isn't so. Oh man, this Harbingers of Castamere really took it on the chin. They didn't lose quite as many as I would have thought they would, but still, a large number of those men have now have been wasted by these Melkor's Chosen, like a fifth of the unit or something like that. Let's see, does anybody have any forces left? Dol-Amroth's still down here. Still kind of fighting. There's still some more Umbar reinforcements as well. So it's looking to me like Umbar definitely has this in the bag. I don't know what Mordor has left at this point that can really stop them. Maybe if Umbar lets them, Mordor cycle charge them into oblivion, that'll be. Then maybe Mordor can pull this off, but I just don't see it happening. Cannon fodder being a real nuisance with those Melkor's Chosen. Son of Imladris doing his best to shut him down. But Cannon fodder apparently a little bit too nimble for him, slipping through gaps in the thin line of infantry and managing to escape unscathed. It's like an attempt at a rear charge here into the Harbingers of Castamere. It's looking like Cannon fodder was maybe trying to pull them out of there and get a counter charge. Those Melkor's Chosen again are going to be able to get away. 5 of them left in that unit, and I think like 9 or so left in this one. 14, even better. Yeah, this fight here definitely It's hard to tell who in favor of is, but I think it's Umbar. I think Umbar has the troops available to deal with those kind of rank and file orcish warriors. So I got the Dol Amroth White Knights here trying to take a bite out of Umbar. I think everyone just wants to dogpile in Umbar at this point. Charge from Mordor into the Casimir's Chosen and the Blackguard.
General lies dead.
Another enemy general gone down. I think that's a Mordor general. Dol Amroth now joining the fray against the Melkor's Chosen, running afoul of the Corsair Blackguard and the rest of the elite Umbar infantry in the process. Oh, a nice charge here. Oh, that is devastating. Oh man, this poor spearman just can't do anything. Instead of the Dark Cloud just constantly cycle charging his cavalry in and out, trying to inflict maximum casualties to Umbar. I don't think Dol Amroth really believes that they can win at this point, but I think they want to just do as much damage as possible so that at least Umbar doesn't win. Go ahead and fast forward just a little bit here. Mordor force is still trying to break down this very stalwart wall of Casimir's Chosen and Casimir's Harbingers. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy thing for Mordor to get through. Charge in the rear into the Harbingers of Casimir by what remains of Sin of the Dark Cloud's bodyguard unit. I think he's still got his general somehow. Somehow, practically the last man in his unit, his general and his one buddy are still alive. Mordor cavalry now a shadow of what it used to be. Falling back up the hill, looking a little bit unsure of itself. What we got down here? Another charge into the front of the Casimir's Chosen, immediately pulling out again. Just trying to deal like max casualties. Well, let's go ahead and let's fast forward a little bit through this because it looks like a lot of the same stuff. So I will see you guys in just a moment. So Umbar's reinforcements have finally arrived on scene to see off what remains of these Mordor invaders. And indeed, they are doing an admirable job of it. Those Numenorian shield guard getting beaten very badly by the Harbingers of Castamir. Uruk bodyguard just not able to stand up to these guys for an extended period of time, and most of the Uruks are just exhausted cannon fodder at this point. So Umbar definitely has an opportunity, I think, to turn this game around and take their city back from the invaders. In fact, most of what Mordor has seems to have been just expended fighting the Blackguard and things that were entrenched up there on that hill. Let's take a look. Let's see if they've got anything at this point that they can use as kind of a trump card. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I think Mordor is officially out of forces. So let's get right down in here and witness the final stand of the Uruks. Who says defenders never win, guys? It happens occasionally.
Good tidings. The enemy general lies dead.
Looks like one of the other Mordor generals has fallen, so the Mordor forces now down another general and more of their cavalry. Oh man, the damage these guys are doing. Yeah, these Casimir's units and the Abrazanim Nardu Zaga are just doing work against what remains of the Mordor infantry. It's like we actually got some Temple Inquisitors here, about 50 of them, now singing the song of their people to try and keep some of these orcs left in the battle. I think now is a good time to try and get those guys out of here, honestly. Maybe try and like find a choke point or a hill somewhere. Although it appears that the cannon fodder is definitely resigned to this defeat, and he's just going to charge bravely into battle with his Temple Inquisitors and try and drive back what remains of Umbar. Not many at this point. Just everything that you can see there, just a small band of Umbar forces, maybe a couple hundred, still left in the city.
Good tidings. The enemy army flees the field.
Another Mordor army now fallen. It's a good thing these Temple Inquisitors don't rout, otherwise Mordor could be in a lot of trouble. 47 to about 100 or so right here. Maybe it'll be enough. Both troops are exhausted, so I don't think we're going to see any more reinforcements, and I don't think we're going to see... Yeah, I don't know where it's going with that, but I have doubts about whether or not the Temple Inquisitors can beat these guys, but if they got that nice hill advantage, then maybe they've got a shot. Everyone's exhausted, everyone's got those penalties, so maybe there's an opportunity. And this one Corsair Fencer, just this one guy. Well, let's see what Cannon Fodder is doing with this heavy infantry unit here. Oh, excuse me. Looks like they're getting ready to make their last stand, but instead, they're going to opt to go up there. Try and fall back to the top of that cliff. I mean, maybe nobody's really happy with that. Maybe that strikes people as cheap, but you know what? He is so outnumbered and so outclassed in terms of quality of infantry left that this isn't the worst idea. Although if I was Son of Imladris, I would have probably waited a little bit for my troops to get some fatigue back while Cannon Fodder was walking up that hill. So let's get it on. The final, what's looking like the final engagement of this battle. Temple Inquisitors versus everything that Umbar has to offer. Let's see how well they do. Victory seems certain. Only a few of the Temple Inquisitors have died so far. That's pretty impressive. Oh, those Aberzani Nardu Bawi or Nardu Zagar backing up those Royal Guards. That is a nasty combination. Also, still got some Harbingers of Castamere in the back. No, there's no way these Temple Inquisitors are coming out on top. Now let's fast forward just a little bit. Witness the final stand of these Temple Inquisitors. I mean, they're actually pushing them back. That is very surprising. I don't know. Maybe the Temple Inquisitors are gonna be able to pull this back. Like, that would be something out of like a book of legends right there. Like the brave 50 Temple Inquisitors that took this entire city back from like a few hundred strong Umbar garrison. Like that would be seriously impressive. Though it looks like the Temple Inquisitors now being beaten back by the Harbingers of Castamere. That is hardly surprising. Though there's not very many of the Harbingers of Castamere left. It's very even. If the Harbingers had a little bit more numbers, like maybe double the numbers that they have right now, I think victory would definitely be a surety. But I don't know. I'm not too sure. It's very even. Whoops. Let's get down in there amongst all the blood and the knit and grit. Castamere's chosen, hammering the Temple Inquisitors. You can just hear people just beating on each other. Still 18 of them left, and only 9 of the Harbingers of Castamere. There's no way. There is no... They've got to have something left. There's got to be something. It's not going to come down to this. Seriously? Oh my god. Those Temple Inquisitors lost well over half their unit, but it looks like they have just beaten the last of the Umbar garrison. That is a serious turnaround. Very, very impressive. Smart retreat there on the part of, I believe this is Cannon Fodder. He basically just won the game for his team against odds that he never should have been able to defeat. Look at that. Look at the ground. Look at all those dead Umbar warriors. They almost had it. Victory was within their grasp, but these Temple Inquisitors just took everything away from them. That is impressive. We got this one guy here. The last Harbinger of Castamere has now fallen. And these Temple Inquisitors looking out over their new kingdom. That was a beautiful battle. Let's take a look at the numbers here. Look at this. Everybody down to next to nothing. Most of these, I think, are forces that routed. So basically nobody had anything left on the battlefield except for those like 17 Temple Inquisitors. It all just came down to them. You can see them in the corner there just triumphantly roaring to the sky. I love it. Some huge numbers. Let's take a look. Actually, no, we're not going to be able to see those, unfortunately, because of my reshade settings, so I apologize for that. Won't be able to take a look at the casualties in detail, but you can see the nitty-gritty of it right there. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you take a look at the Discord channel, and if you guys are interested in more Reforged content like this, these kind of events are not exactly uncommon. So, yeah, join the Discord. Make sure you sub to the channel, and I'm sure you'll see more of myself and Cannon Fodder and the rest of the team in the future. So, yeah, I've been Jordan, also known as Jmonster, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!